So our interview this week is with my friend Maria Menounos. Maria Menounos had, I would argue, of the people I know, one of the hardest, most heart-wrenching years in 2021. She lost her mom to cancer. Both of her parents had COVID. She was the primary caregiver for her family. She took on a great deal of responsibility herself, all the while dealing with her own health problems, dealing with her own mental health, dealing with her business, her marriage, her animals, her life. I think that she is an incredibly strong person. I think she is inspiring in how she navigates through her life and how she articulates what she's doing to make her life better. And I thought she would be the perfect guest for us going into a new year and talking about being resilient, being an advocate for yourself, even in the face of great adversity. What things did you learn in 2021? What are you leaving behind in 2021? And what are you taking with you into 2022?
That's
a lot.
Good question. That's heavy. I was telling you earlier that there were some disappointing moments in the journey with my mom. And in the moment, I was fairly upset, hurt. And I did express it to people where I was like, I can't believe this. This is crazy. I didn't give myself time to process why people might have been acting like that. And so I think in the future, in 2022, before I start to assume what it might be, I'll give myself a little bit more time to have distance from things before I form an opinion about it. Because when you're hurt, you're in the rawest moments, and
it just bursts out of you
And so I think that that even when people wrong you, you have to give a little bit of time to have some empathy back for them. Maybe somebody can't handle situations like that. Maybe they just aren't cut the way you are, right? You just assume well, I would be there for them.
Handle this.
I would do that. Well, yeah, asshole, you're better in those situations, and they're better in other situations.
Correct.
But you don't, in those moments, you don't think like that.
You don't rationalize it.
So there were moments where I was let down by some people, and then when I saw them in their situation, they were doing the same exact thing. In their own situation, where you're like, oh, so it was
it's not
personal.
About me.
It's just them. It's who they are and what they're capable of in those scenarios, environments.
It has nothing to do with you.
This was a big one that I learned. I'm really good in crisis. Really good. Whether I like it or not, I freaking hate being in it, but I'm really good.
You can rock crisis.
Kevin and I can rock crisis like nobody else. That's why we're so quick to put our superhero capes on and dive in and jump and try to fix and help. And then when someone doesn't put their superhero cape on for me,
where's
I'm
your suit?
Hey, wait, what the fuck? Hello?
We're in crisis.
Help!
What we do?
I'm suffering. Somebody help me. But there were a few people
Not everybody
that are good
has
at
a
that.
cape. Not everybody has a cape. That's a great learning. That's a great learning. Also to have a refined reaction. I'm the same way. I'm already upset about something, crying about it, mad about it. And then I've shot the gun and it's oh wait.
Yeah.
Should I have refined that a little bit?
I've had the last couple of days, I've had this feeling we do these New Year's resolutions every year. And, I've had some good ones the last couple of years and they've served me and I've stuck with them for the most part. But I said, what if this New Year's resolution was to live the entire year as if you had just been given a deathly,
a death sentence.
A death sentence, yeah. And so you have to literally live it like it's your last year on earth. And after I thought about that, I saw someone on Twitter talking about how they lived their best year of their life when they found out her husband was dying. She's like, it was the worst year and the best year because we lived it like it was our last, because it was. And then I was reinforced in my head that what I was thinking, maybe this was a message.
Yeah, sure.
Because you have the thought, then you see something like that and you're like, maybe this is the universe talking to me. And so I'm really kind of noodling on it right now and thinking how and what would that look like? because you would think it would just be, okay, I'm going on every trip
every
possible.
vacation I've ever wanted to have.
I'm going to see the Northern Lights.
Totally.
I'm going to go to Alaska. I'm going to do some National Geographic tours. But it can't just be that. And so, but then at the same time, having gone through everything that we've gone through in the last 5 years, I feel like I've really made a point of letting everyone in my life know what they mean to me. So I feel like that's usually something you would do in those moments.
In that year.
So, I'm gathering data. If you have any suggestions on what other things that would look like, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to put this into action, because even this last trip we went to in Italy, I had to work in Amsterdam for MTV. And I was like, we're tagging on a trip to Italy. I don't care what it takes. We're going to do it. And it was because I said, if there was a diagnosis around the corner, and we know that that's totally possible because we've had the craziest shit already happen, I would be really mad we didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
You would
already
regret that.
starting.
So no regret. So you're already living your last best year.
Yeah. So
imagine if every year was your last best year.
Yes. But even if you decided to do what I'm saying for 1 month, like in January, I am going to live this month like it's my last month. I'm going to do everything I want, and then just see what happens.
And also, what would that be? Like, you think about how much time you spend on material things or clothes, and you're like, would you buy clothes if it was your last best year?
I don't know. Maybe
I
would go make that crazy shopping spree at Gucci and go, whatever I want, I'm buying. I don't give a shit.
Exactly. Or you're like, I don't need it.
And then go give it away.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be amazing.
Because it's really about the high.
Yeah, it is about the high.
Because once you get it and you wear it, you're like,
it's okay. Yep. So one of the things I love about you is that I think you show vulnerability in a really beautiful way, and you show strength in the face of loss. And one question I'm curious about with you is how do you have a new year after a year with loss or a year with so much change? Like, how do you think about that? I'll take a step back. Like, I went to dinner last night with a bunch of women, and some of them I hadn't seen in 2 years. And everyone was like, the last 2 years were 20 years combined. And that's for a regular person, not for someone necessarily who'd gotten divorced or who'd lost a family member or who had a diagnosis. Like, how do you think, one of the things I love about you is that I think you kind of embrace the moment you're in. The new year is, I think there's such pressure around going to be the best year yet, or it's all fresh and new. And
it's all ahead of me.
It's all ahead of me. And then it's like, bam, or you're still reeling from the year before. So as someone who is so in touch with where she is, how that feels and what it means, how do you think about moving into a year after a lot of loss or a lot of change?
I think it's kind of the same as when you're dealing with it and you say, I'm in it and I'm present. It's the same thing kind of going into the new year. We just finished Thanksgiving and it was our first Thanksgiving without my mom, and we're just kind of walking around our house here with my dad, and we're all kind of zombies in a weird way, not in an overtly obvious way, but there's almost what is there to look forward to? So then you're like, well, I guess we're gonna have kids. Hopefully that will help or whatever, or maybe my dad will meet someone. Maybe that will help. We're just kind of in this limbo, and unfortunately, you have to be comfortable with a little bit of limbo. And it's hard when you're doers. And we've been in limbo for a long time, because when we were back here from January to May with my mom this year, just watching her die, that was a limbo, and it was a painful limbo. So I don't know if I really have an answer other than just being rocky and just keep trying, keep getting
embrace
up
where you are.
Yeah.
I had this thing, for some reason I got very sad Saturday night, and I just cried the entire night. I don't know if you've ever had that night where you just have the tears
You don't know why?
I just think it was
you don't.
Yeah. I feel because I think when you're dealing with loss or change or circumstances beyond your control, it can be overwhelming and you can be a victim to it. But what happened to me is I woke up at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I was like, I'm just tired of feeling bad and sad. I want to make a change that's positive. I want to take control of my situation. I want to see love and brightness in a future. And it's like, I think one thing that's hard in a new year environment is like you say it once and it's done. And the reality is like everyone has that Saturday night and everyone has that Sunday morning. And then you're going to have both of those, on and on and on.
Yeah. Life's like that roller coaster,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You can't enjoy the highs without the lows,
understanding the lows.
So why were you sad?
I was sad because there was an article that had come out about Dave. And I have like fatigue on the negativity about Barstool and about Dave or about me. Like it's like fatiguing after a while. And then I think the second thing that's hard for me is having to deal with how people respond to external things like that. Like how everyone is swayed in this case by press about me, Dave, Barstool, whatever it may be. And then it creates this whole dynamic in relationships that should have nothing to do with the press or with the media or with perception.
Yeah, people carry their judgments of what they see into your personal and private
and then
situations.
You're like, but wait, that's not me, that's not him, that isn't real. And it just creates distance. And I think that one of the things I struggle with is like when people who you love or who are close to are distanced from you, that's hard.
I know. And it doesn't have to happen in that way either for it to happen. I think the universe is always kind of just showing us things and they can be painful. And I think that you just have to think about what the hardest part is for us to really hold true to what we really know is true and not worry about what everyone else is thinking or saying. Because as you see in the media every single day, everyone loves pushing like a falling fence. Everyone loves grabbing arms. It's like it's Shakespeare, to take arms against a sea of troubles. They love to just get in there, and everyone loves their opinion and everyone has one. And opinions, I think, are the lowest form of intelligence.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate because, like I saw an article recently. I really stay out of the news because it's so depressing. For someone who's spent their life in the news, it's really shocking, I'm sure, for people to hear. But I read an article about someone who had built this like $1 billion company. She was 24 years old and her employees were taking her down because they said it was a toxic environment. And I just thought about her in the shower recently and I go, I wonder if any of those employees, if they were in that position, if they thought they could do a better job.
100%.
At 24 years old, you think she's supposed to have figured out how to build a non-toxic company?
Yeah, that's right.
Because I remember I was finding my way all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything. You're still learning. You're still growing. And there's just no forgiveness. There's no empathy. There's no there's just no allowance for anything. So, you watch it every single day. It makes me want to just stay in my turtle shell and just hide. It makes me not want to be out there in any kind of significant way. And it's probably why I'm not really as out there as I normally was because I've gone through so much pain in those arenas where you're just like, ugh,
I don't need more.
I don't need another brain tumor.
Right.
No more.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Right. Yep.
But what we have to learn is we have to learn that the people that are going to be solid in our lives are going to be solid in our lives. The apple tree is always going to shake. There are always going to be the bad apples that come down. There might be people that were in your life up until now that were great that now are not willing to ride with you in this next chapter. And if they can't hang now, imagine what's going to happen as you grow and as you succeed more.
Sure.
So you have to go through that pain. Yeah. I'm going through that pain. I had people disappoint me in such deep ways through this journey with my mom that were amazing up until the moment I couldn't come through for them in my worst moment where I'm like, I'm having a nervous breakdown and I can't be there for you. And I'm so sorry. And yet they still vilify you. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, maybe there was stuff underlying that I wasn't paying attention to. Maybe that person didn't belong in my life. I have no control. You're basically cutting me. So that's it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything
about it.
And then
are you a dead to me type of person?
No. No,
You'll
I'm
take them
actually
back.
very forgiving. I take them back and I will assess as I see from there. It doesn't mean that certain people won't be in my life anymore in that way. I'll wish them well. We can be cordial. We can, all of that. Some people, because they were so great, I will kind of experiment and see if things are salvageable in that way. But no, I'm not a dead to me kind of thing, because then you're just as extreme as everybody else.
I agree with that. I think there's something to, my thing is like, you've got to meet people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
When you're having a nervous breakdown, when your mother is dying, when you're not there for someone else, someone's got to meet you. If you really love the person, you need to meet them in that place.
But we live in a very narcissistic time where it's me.
Completely. Yeah. Completely. Or you are only in service to me, which is what you're describing. I think the other thing that's in your description of friends and people is, I think people put so much blame to other people for their own choices and actions. You think about the 24-year-old billionaire who started a, magnificent startup. Maybe she wasn't a great people manager. Maybe it scaled too fast and it got ahead of her. Maybe she didn't put the right infrastructure around her. Whatever, it doesn't matter. There's this cycle of like vilification on like, hey, I'm sure maybe she sucked to work for. Is that her fault or your fault? Which is, I feel like employees or people are like, oh, she sucked. She was terrible.
It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
It wasn't perfect. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. Because everyone who's grown up has had these perfect environments. I don't understand.
So interesting. It was funny. I saw a friend of mine who lost her husband this year, and I saw her last night for the first time since her husband had died. And she's awesome. She's a legend in the ad business, and she's built this magnificent career, and she had this great love. And they kind of traveled all over the world. They have this really global lifestyle. And they have 3 kids. And she was saying, I was asking her what she learned, like, what have you learned? And, she talked similar to you about how painful the year had been. Like watching someone die is just a truly excruciating out of body experience in a lot of ways. And then she also said that she learned that she did too much for her children when they were children, because when she needed help, they weren't there.
They're all thumbs because they have no clue how to help.
Right. And she was like,
it's
I
the
need
greatest
help right
service
now.
Parents can do is to do everything for them or give them everything. Mm-hmm. I watched like my parents. My dad said no 9.999 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Guess who became resourceful? Guess who figured it out? Guess who wasn't spoiled?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he spoiled me in other ways with love, but you know what I mean? Like it's really hard. And so then, these people go off into the work environment and expect everything to be perfect, and everyone's got to be perfect. And even I know through tough situations I've gone through, even though I know what was done to me was so incorrigible and so horrendous and so black and white, because it's all in email and all very, very apparent and witnessed by many, I still have a hard time because I can understand where they're coming from. I understand the things that have gone wrong in their lives, where they didn't have the resources in their own, mental capacities, emotional capacities to handle things differently. I even have a hard time, but I just know nothing is supposed to be perfect. Right. Why are we expecting that from people?
Exactly.
If you don't like it, go.
Yeah, that's right. You're in control. Make a choice.
If you don't want to go to a seminar hosted by somebody because you don't think that they are preaching the right things, don't go to the seminar. Where are we at in this world? It's crazy.
It's crazy. So I think that's a bigger thing too, which is that like in looking for your new year, don't expect this year to be perfect.
Don't expect anything to be perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. Nothing's perfect. And like life is not about it being rosy and happy and amazing. Life is about how you're going to handle the challenges, how you're going to rise above, how you're going to grow. And through the only way you're going to have growth is through the pain.
Right.
So I've watched the patterns now, and I see in my life when shit hits, I'm like, oh, frig, I don't know if I can handle anymore. And then you can.
Yeah.
And then you grow from it. And I know that when it happens, I'm like, okay, got to go through another growth spurt. And I got to the point where recently I was praying and I'm like, okay, God, Like, thank you for everything. This has been amazing. Even the bad stuff. Everything's amazing. But like, can we like slow down a minute? Like, can I just get a little break?
Can I have a month
Like,
off?
can I just have like a little less growth?
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little less growth because I'm really starting to lose my shit. And so, but I do know it's there and it's all happening for a reason, and that there's a path that I'm being pushed on, and you might be getting pushed into a different path and you don't even realize it. So it's like you just got to sit and be aware and give yourself those breaks to say, let me stop fighting. Let me start listening. Let me start taking stock. Let me start thinking about maybe there's something else that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. And maybe this bad thing that's happening, or this situation that I hate, or, XYZ is actually there to help you.
Most times
it is.
It is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Talk about Better Together. Like, what's happening with Better Together? Like, where are you guys? What's going on?
Better Together is going great. We're, doing our shows daily on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. And I think I'm shifting a little bit more into kind of lifestyle and beauty and fashion and other stuff, because this last journey has been so much about health, because I needed to find answers for my mom. I needed to find answers for me. And it was very intense. Yeah. And I felt like, okay, every day it was like, you're going to school. My husband would like fill in for me while my mom was sick. And when I was just too overwhelmed, and he's like, Maria, this is like going to like master class every day. Yeah. This is intense. So I took it down
for him or for you?
For him.
Yeah. He did great though.
I was so in. Thank you. But so I started doing like 2 chats a week and like 2 interviews a week. So it was like a little less heavy, and we're theming the weeks. So we'll have like Entrepreneur Week, we'll have Mental Health Week, we'll have Fitness Week, we'll have all this. But I realized that there were so many parts of me that I abandoned. I love sharing beauty tips. I love sharing fashion tips. I love sharing all kinds of stuff. So we're incorporating a little bit more of that. I'm almost done with a new website that will have more blog content. And so you can go to mariamenounos.com very soon.
Okay.
And the great thing is like, it's kind of like a version of my books, the Every Girl's Guides, where you're going to get authentic advice. I'm not doing anything just because I'm being sold or told to or anything like that, because
you're actually doing it.
It's against my grain. Yeah. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're working on. So I'm excited about it.
That's incredible. And did you miss it when you were off the air?
I did. I always miss having those great conversations. Every day I get to learn something. Yeah. And I love learning and I love sharing. So it's like those 2 things are my wheelhouse. But I knew it was the time that I needed to, reserve for me and just make sure that I was okay, because I was holding and carrying a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I was able to be there for my mom and my dad. And, it was hard.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Hard.
Describe the iPad.
My iPad?
Where you had a constant, you were there virtually. Describe that.
So my mom and dad, so this time last year was a shit show for me. Last year, the day before Thanksgiving, my mom was rushed to the hospital unresponsive. Both my parents ended up with COVID, 2 separate hospitals at the same time. And so I'm, running point on their care. I'm switching between hospitals on literally they all get their breaks at the same time.
Yeah, so doctors. Like your phone is just blowing up.
3 o'clock, I was getting blown up by the pulmonologist, the cardiologist, the visologist. And then I'm like, hold on, I'm on the other line with my dad's doctor at Cedars. I'm at UCLA. I'm on the Please don't hang up on me. Please don't hang up on me. And going back and forth. So what was happening at the time was with my mom, because she had stage 4 brain cancer and she was really weak from the COVID, I knew I had to keep her brain stimulated. And if I didn't, I would lose her. So I would be FaceTiming with her. And then one day the nurse, because they would have to connect me, and God bless them, they were so patient and amazing. She was like, well, why don't we just keep it on? And I said, oh my God. Now my husband had made these little wooden stands in the house during COVID with magnets, like the car magnets. So you could pop your phone on it.
Okay. You could just hold it there with you.
And it would just sit there. Yeah. So I brought one to the hospital and I had them plug it in. And so my mom and I stayed on 24-hour FaceTimes. So I took her wherever I was. She was in the car with me. She was, in the shower. I mean, I made sure I shifted it so it wasn't at the shower, but I could hear if anything happened.
Yep.
She slept next to me. I sang to her. I talked to her. I would have her recite poetry. Everything I could do to keep her brain activated. And sometimes it would take her like 2 hours to respond to a question. It was a lot. It was very intense.
Yep.
But it worked. And so she was never alone. I was able to communicate with the nurses.
And you were connected with her.
Yeah. And I was able to say things to the nurses because it was a scary time. Like she was zipped up in a little zipper room. And so I would say, hey, I think her feet are swelling. They're like, oh, we didn't notice that. Or every time you leave the room, she starts coughing. Can we get her some cough medicine? So there were things that they weren't going to catch because it wasn't possible.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I did that little documentary.
Yeah,
Is that what
so
you saw?
great. Yeah.
Mom, Dad, COVID,
I loved
and me.
it.
Yeah. A nurse helped me with the idea of keeping FaceTime on for my mom. Kevin had made these stands with magnets, so I dropped one off and stayed on 24-hour FaceTime with my mom. I didn't want her to feel alone, and I knew that I needed to keep her brain working. Between the COVID fog and the brain tumor fog, I knew for her to beat this, we needed to keep her brain stimulated. Sometimes it would take a long time to get a response, but when I did, I would celebrate.
What time is it, Marianne?
A little after 11. I continued my FaceTime sessions with her wherever I went. I took her in the car, I slept with her at night, I even showered with her. Thankfully, I never forgot the camera was on, so there were no mishaps. I spent every moment with my mom.
But it's so interesting to me about how you're so caring and you're so communicative. Like if I were to describe like 10 words for Maria, like I would put those 2 words in there.
Thanks.
And then I think that you use technology. I mean, like anyone who's lost someone this year or had someone who had COVID, everyone talks about how I had a guy on my hockey team who lost his dad and he couldn't go see his dad. You like, this is so you that you're like, no, you find a way. Yeah. And I think that's just really special. Like there's so much about the evils of technology and the, devices and this, that. And it's like, actually it can bring you closer if you're willing to put the tool or the device to create a human connection and to have that connection be good.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I would have like church services going on for her. And I think it's just really important. My uncle just passed to COVID right before Thanksgiving, and I was in the hospital with him. And I just see also, how hard it is for the staff to be able to take on the level of care that you as the patient's family member want.
Yep.
So there's a whole other thing here that I'm like super passionate about, and that's, how to take care of people who are in hospice or bed bound. There's a lot that goes into caring for someone that I've now learned and I've figured out ways to things that they haven't really figured out ways to yet.
That's right.
A lot of elderly people really suffer unnecessarily. There are things now that can prevent the bed sores or heal the bed sores, or there's so many things that, like, as a crazy producer investigator, I've figured out that I want to find a way to share with people because it breaks my heart. They don't need to suffer like that.
Right.
So, I mean, there's been moments where I'm like, should I just go become a doctor? Because I'm kind of a fake doctor now.
And you're also like, I feel like you're 35% there, don't you think?
I'm pretty close. When my dad, so we were in Italy recently and I was like, I got a call and my dad had gotten a horrible car crash. And it was his blood sugar had dropped so low. He was like singing a song that reminded him of my mom. He got sad and then, but the doctor called me from the hospital. I'm in Florence. And he's like, so I hear you're a doctor. I literally fell to the floor, fell to the ground in Italy, crying, laughing. I go, no, but I am a fake doctor. I've been like, I'm, very well versed. I've already looked at his MRIs. I've looked at his scans. I've already compared them and talked to neurologists. I'm like, I already know what's happening. He was laughing. So yeah, there's been moments where I'm like, should I just go be a nurse? I really feel like I could help people,
but nurse.
But one-on-one, how much can I do?
I know you're
so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to
one-to-many.
Scale this a little bit more. So
what have you learned about taking care of others? Like if you were to give people like 4 things you've learned.
Never expect anybody else to do the job. they're never going to be able to do it to the level that you need to. It was funny when my uncle was in the hospital. I said, guys, I need you to understand he's 91. They are not going to care about a 91-year-old COVID patient the way you think they should. They're keeping a pulse on him. 2 days later, a nurse pulls him aside and says, they're just keeping a pulse on him. They were like, they said exactly what you said. I go, I know. I said, and so you have to be resourceful. You've got to be the quarterback. And it's not just talking to the doctors and giving your opinions. It's researching things. Like there are products like this product called Briotech. It's a spray, kills COVID, kills bacteria. It's amazing. You can spray that on bed sores and heal them. You have to drench them, allow them to dry, and heal them. Super simple. Alternating mattresses are amazing things that help shift the pressure so that someone doesn't have pressure on their bed sore if they even have one, or prevents them. There are certain things that can be done, but when people put their care in someone else's hands, so there are some hospitals that are better than others. There are some doctors that are better than others. There are people that are better than others. There are people that are better than others. So when you go to a hospital, you think, oh, they got the best care. They're in the hospital. They know. They're the professionals. Well, guess what? Some are better than others. Yeah. So you have to make sure that you're getting the level of care, and you can't be scared of them. Yep. They're servicing you and helping you. It doesn't mean you have to be a dick. Yeah. And don't be, by the way. Yeah. Don't be nasty to them, but work with them in a collaborative way to say, this is what I need to get for him. How do we make this happen? I need an alternating mattress. I need, this product sprayed on it. You've got to be pushy, because what happens is people are scared because they're intimidated, right? These are doctors. These are, we're all intimidated by lawyers and doctors and all these people who are so much smarter than us. It's not about that. It's life and death. You got to go to the mat for your person. That's right. And you can't be afraid. You have to be active to go to the mat for your person. And so that's something I've been trying to teach people, and you can do it in a kind way. And so, and it's just notebook with everything they say, everything you're seeing. Keeping a pain journal is so important, or a health journal, so that you see patterns and things like that. There's so much that goes into it.
Are you maniacal like that? Are you like a note taker, cataloger?
Yeah, because what happens is you go to the doctor, you think you're going to remember everything, and you never will not. When you are in a high pressure situation, you will not remember. So if you see how many journals I have over the last 5 years with my mom, writing everything they said down. By the way, there are moments where you have to go back and reference. What did we do last time when this happened? Well, guess what? You can go back and reference, and you can see. That's great. And so, and it helps me now when I go help other people when they're in those situations. Wait, let me go back and see what we did. Hold on. So then I can, bring that information forward for them.
That's incredible. What other tips, like beauty tips? You're talking about beauty shopping tips. Like, give us, what do we got?
So I was telling you about my TJ Maxx and Marshall's obsession. So these are the boots I bought. So now these are made in Italy. Okay. So having just gone to Italy and going into the leather manufacturers, places where they make shoes and bags, I looked around and I'm like, wait, this is all those brand labels like Gucci and all those places that they make for those companies, and they slap a label on it. Yeah,
that's right.
Right? So when I saw these, and I bought these and another pair too, I was like, so normally they would just slap a label on this.
Yeah, and that's a Gucci boot.
And these are really well-made, gorgeous boots. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. So with TJ Maxx, the thing I love the most is their runway. I told you about it. You didn't know. TJ Maxx, go to TJ Maxx online and click on the runway. And you will be blown away.
I will be doing this in about 6 minutes.
At the brands you will get. And the cool thing is, so because I've worked with them for so long, I know the behind the scenes. And when you understand the behind the scenes, you understand the stores better. Their buyers go and negotiate with these crazy brand levels and say, we see that you've over manufactured. Let's cut a deal. And they cut a deal. That's why we get it for 20 to 60% off. And they're in season. They're not past season.
It's not like last year's
It's not a
spring,
regular
summer,
stuff.
Blah, blah,
it's
blah.
none of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I really look to shop anywhere else? Because everything I want is there. And if you're going to a store and you're not, or you don't have time, go online. It's so easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can get the stuff that you want, and you have a wider array because you have so many stores to pull from. But I'm kind of obsessed. The other thing I would tell you right now, but I kind of did chip.
Okay.
Is this new polish. It's called Dazzle Dry. Have you heard of it?
No.
I'm about to change your life.
Okay, let's go. Do you do it yourself?
No.
Okay.
But you can.
Okay.
So Dazzle Dry goes on like a nail polish.
Okay.
Comes off like a nail polish.
Okay.
Acts like a gel.
Okay.
So this is 2 weeks.
Your nails are 2 weeks right now.
Yes. They do not chip, people, but I'm going to tell you,
this
did
is like
chip.
4 days chip
I
central.
did chip finally because I am aggressively, psychotically cleaning, organizing, unpacking boxes.
You're like,
I am like the worst I've ever been.
Yep.
And it took that much for this to happen.
That's amazing.
But this doesn't happen under any kind of normal rigmarole.
So you buy it yourself and you bring it to the nail salon
So
with
a
you.
lot of nail salons are starting to carry it.
Okay.
I get nothing out of saying this, but they're just literally my like best latest find.
Okay.
And makeup eraser. Have you heard of makeup
No,
eraser?
let's
About to
go.
change your life again. It's this little like velvety, felty kind of pad. You wet it, makeup erases.
Like in the morning when I wake up and my mascara is down to my nose?
No, it won't be like that because when you do it at night, it's gone.
Really?
It's called makeup eraser for a freaking reason.
And it works? What about with
Yes.
waterproof mascara?
I haven't tried waterproof mascara, but I know it will work.
Okay.
It's called makeup eraser because it erases
Do
everything.
you like rinse it?
Yes, and then what I'll do is I'll wash it with my antibacterial soap. I'll put it on the sink nozzle and let it dry overnight. They're
And then
reusable. You wash them normally I wash them in the washing machine,
Okay.
right? But if I'm traveling, that's what I'll do so I can
Okay.
reuse them. They're pretty bomb.
Okay, that's hugely bomb.
2 life-changing things, ladies.
I mean, that's amazing.
So
And
now you
great
don't have
life
to buy all
advice.
those wipes that like
I
ruin
hate the wipes and my eyes are
environment.
stinging.
And what people don't realize, they have alcohol in them, and so then they
just
dry out
drives
your
you
skin.
and wrinkle you right up.
Yep,
Maria,
life-changing.
you are the best.
We're better together.
We are better together. Okay, tell people where they can find you and all your greatness.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Maria Menounos. If you don't know how to spell Menounos, let me teach you what Tiffany in grade school taught me. She's like, oh, it's so easy. Me, noun, OS.
There we go.
And Better Together with Maria Menounos is on YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
Amazing. You're not on Spotify?
And Spotify.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, you're the best.
Thank you.
I
You're the best.
appreciate you.
Thank
No, you're
you.
the best.